What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? We are here today for a very rare. Normally we're live Mondays at 2, but you know what? We're doing something special today. That's right. It's November, and we are geared up to bring you all things Christmas. What's going on, everybody? You guys know me. I'm Charlie, Christmas Talk Wrestling. What's up to Rob? Great to have you in. Gabo tuning in from Mexico. And Chad, wasn't sure if I was going to make it to Fridays. Yeah, it's a weird Friday today. I have my Christmas display done. Just need to redo my video for Charlie. Yes, don't forget for those of you who are watching this later, our fan appreciation awards are sneaking upon us. Remember, we have 10 different previous contestants who have been cast on the Great Christmas Light Fight. Excuse me. We know for certain that the Slankards, a former contestant, will be on the December 22nd video. If you're tuning in later, Robert, let me know. Real quick, if you are wanting a unique Christmas gift, don't forget Ho Hats. That's right, Ho Hats. Get your Ho Hat. Scan that QR code. We'll be good to go. Upcoming. So I spoke with John from Altalit today, the inventor of the Lightkeeper Pro. He is coming on the show. We may, in fact, have a double episode November 20th, because November 20th, Tiffany and Brandon Brown, former champions of the Great Christmas Light Fight, will be on here for a live interview. But today, my friends, we are here to talk all things projection mapping. Boom, let's go. With me today is Daniel Day from Luxedo. What's going on, buddy?
Not too much. How you doing?
Doing all right. Thanks so much for coming on the show for a quick chat about all things projection mapping. So for those that live underneath a rock and have no idea who you are and what you do, can you tell us who you are and what you do?
Well, my name is Daniel. I work for Luxedo, which is a projection mapping company that aims to be sort of an all-in-one solution to projection mapping. I am technically, if I had a title, it'd be head of customer support, but I kind of do like a little bit of everything. So it's probably more helpful to just think of me as like he just does things at Luxedo all the time.
It's just this is Daniel. He does things. It's Luxedo. It's all the time. What's a fun fact about you, Daniel, that people may not know?
So I did not get put onto Halloween or Christmas or anything holidays until really late in my life. I was raised without Christmas. I was raised without Halloween, not for any particular reason. Not really.
Hey.
Just my family just didn't really do it much. And so I went most of my life not really being involved in anything whatsoever. And then only in the last couple of years, as I've gotten to meet different people and started realizing, hey, I was kind of missing out when I was a kid. I really pulled a 180, and now I'm kind of doing the complete opposite.
Well, very cool. So you grew up no Christmas, no Halloween, really, and you're kind of getting immersed in it because it's your day job now.
Yeah, no kidding. I've seen so much more Halloween and Christmas than I probably did the first 18 years of my life.
So for folks who don't know, maybe they're watchers like, what in the world is Luxedo? What is projection mapping? Can you tell us what projection mapping is?
Yeah, so projection mapping is it is a somewhat complicated technology with a really simple concept behind it. It is you put a projector in front of a surface and then you play a show on that surface. But what makes it special is that the show that you're playing is mapped one-to-one to the surface, right? It is calculated to fit along with whatever image you're projecting onto. So it's not just so simple as, projecting onto a wall. It is projecting onto a facade of a building or anything you want to project onto and having the exact proportions right so your show looks fantastic.
Very cool. So that's exactly right. You create something, you project it on. It was first time I saw this was at Disney World in Orlando many years ago. In the night, Cinderella's castle turns into a giant movie screen. I said, "What in the world is this?"
Yeah,
and it has blown up over the years.
That is typically when people ask. That is actually the example we usually point at as Disney World.
Yes, it kind of creates illusion. It makes it look like it's a giant movie screen or TV screen. It's freaking neat.
Yeah, it's really like this immersive experience has just become way more popular over the last couple of years as well. And Disney World's always been at the forefront of pushing that kind of thing. So it's no surprise. It's just popped up.
Yeah, so Luxedo, we're going to dive in today about what Luxedo is because it's unique to projection mapping. So can you kind of tell us, how did you get started with Luxedo?
Is that for like me personally?
Yeah, how did you get started with the company? Then we'll dive into the company.
Right. Okay. So my experience with Luxedo started with my brother, who is the lead software engineer at Luxedo, and
Oh, very cool.
this is a small company. We're based out of Knoxville, Tennessee, and everybody that is with us is based out of Knoxville, Tennessee. And Luxedo was for a long time this sort of like this far away idea, projection mapping. I didn't really know what it was, but my brother was one of like 4 employees at Luxedo, and this was like 7 years ago. And then eventually, as the company's expanded, I recently moved to Knoxville for university. And my brother was telling me that they needed a customer support representative. And he was telling my boss, like, hey, you should consider hiring Daniel. He's good at customer support. I can tell you that. And so they gave it a try. And then I just kind of stuck around. And now I do a whole bunch of stuff.
Very cool. So Luxedo is a little unique. It's not like anything else. So I think I know the answer to this, but for someone who's just getting started out in projection mapping, other than just saying, hey, get Luxedo, which I think is probably the correct answer, what advice do you have for folks who are getting started in projection mapping?
I would say that we are constantly working to get resources out there to make this as easy as possible. Because our focus is, number one priority, make this easy for people, because it's complicated. It's complicated, and we really want to make sure that it is as easy to use as possible. So we've got resources out there like video tutorials, written tutorials, and then there's also people out there who will just make shows for you, tailor-made for your house. Use those resources.
So let's just kind of dive into what Luxedo is. So folks who don't know, what is Luxedo and what does it offer? What does it do?
So Luxedo offers a all-in-one solution for projection mapping. That is to say, there's a lot of different parts to the projection mapping puzzle. And in order to get them to work all together, you usually have to get, the software from one source. You have to get the hardware from one source, the camera from another source. There's a whole bunch of different pieces. Luxedo, It is all in one. You're going to get a box shipped to you. In that box, you're going to get an enclosure with a projector inside it. You've got the projection technology, the calibration technology, and the software. And there's no wires or anything. So you can have, all you have to do is plug it in, and you don't have to have it wired to your house or anything like that. Once it's out there, you've got everything you need right there.
Yeah, so it comes with everything. So and I'm ignorant. I'm learning with everybody else about Luxedo today. So I want to dive in. So my question, I see on the commercials, the advertisement, it looks like it kind of scans your house for you. So right now, the method that a lot of folks use is you got to get out there, you got to put your coat on, get the table out, computer out, everything out, your hot chocolate, and spend hours drawing your house. But your system does it for the user. Is that right?
So the calibration technology still makes no sense to me. My brother designed it. I have no idea it doesn't make any sense to me. But you're right. So what happens is there's these series of images that are projected onto your wall. And part of the appeal of Luxedo is that is all in one. And that means that projector is projecting images, and a camera is capturing those images. And the software that is built into the enclosure, basically, is running calculations based off the images being projected. And that will later on allow you to use the image that it produces as a snapshot. And it'll be able to know, based off the calculations it's done, if you put something there on the canvas, that is where it will project.
Very cool. I just think that's so neat. So instead of drawing the gutters and drawing the door, and a lot of folks have 8-panel doors, instead of drawing every panel, it does it for you. It just saves you so much time, I would assume. Is that correct?
Well, there is still you still do have to do masking, right? Which I believe is what you're referring to. But what does make it different is just the fact that you're getting your house, the picture of your house right there. And the masking itself is built into our software. It's not really that time consuming because the snapshot that is produced it's very intuitive to use, and the software is intuitive to use. So masking is still a part of the process. But again, the images, if you're using our editing software and you put an image on some part of your house, it will just project it on that part of the house, right? It is very very efficient.
Nice. As far as Luxedo goes, what aspect are you most proud of? Outside looking in, I'd say probably everything because it's freaking a unique product. But what are you most proud of for Luxedo?
I think for me, my answer might be different from other people at the company, but I come into this company, and even though it's been around for I think like 7 years at this point,
Mm-hmm.
it still has this feeling of being this really relentlessly energetic and inspired startup. Because everybody that works there, they're all such passionate people, and they're
Right.
constantly working on innovating and constantly working on just whatever neat ideas come into their mind. If there's anything that anybody has ever thought of would be a neat feature to add to projection mapping, I guarantee you, my boss has already thought about it and asked how we can make it happen. So that's something that I think is really awesome. We have not lost touch of that drive to make a cool product and keep innovating.
Very
I
cool.
would probably the thing I'm most proud of.
So before I forget, later in the video, if you're watching this back later, you can kind of comment. But for those lives, so you know, we are at the end of this video, we're going to offer a unique discount code that comes with some extra stuff. And we are going to show some videos today later on about this bad boy in use. So walk me through the process. I order Luxedo. It comes to
Right.
my door. What do I do with it when the box is open?
So everything is, from like a physical standpoint, very easy to set up. You plug in one cable into the projector, and you plug the back of the enclosure into an outlet, and then that's the hardware side of it. The hardware, you're good. So the next part of the stuff is getting it connected to the Wi-Fi, because part of what makes Luxedo a good option, even on like people who want like big scale projects, but on residential level, like small residential units, like what's really nice is the lack of wiring. So everything is done via the cloud. Everything is done via Wi-Fi, and that basically means that the longest part of the process, and it's not very long, but the longest part of the process is just getting set up to the Wi-Fi. And so you open up your device, you plug it in, it'll project an image that gives you guides to how to connect it to the Wi-Fi. You follow those guides. In about 5-10 minutes, most, you're connected to the Wi-Fi. Once you're connected to the Wi-Fi, you log into the Luxedo portal, and you can just click activate start calibration. And that's, there's probably some tinkering you'll need to do. Like, you want to figure out exactly where to put it. So we have like a spotlight that shows you the exact range of the projection. Yeah, and so you adjust it accordingly. So you see, like, okay, if I put it here, it's kind of missing a corner of the house. So you take it back another foot, and then you see, okay, well, now it's perfectly covering it. And once you're satisfied, you activate your calibration. Make sure you're doing it at night, though, because people are confused why it doesn't work. Well, you can't run the calculations if you can't see the light being produced. Yeah. But if you run it at night, right, and it can calculate the images being projected, it'll produce a snapshot, and that's the setup.
Okay, so it produces a snapshot. Then what happens? What's the next?
So when it produces a snapshot, that's, like I said, that's the setup done. Your device is all set up. So you go into the website now, and everything from there on out is going to be dealing with the website, essentially. If you don't want to leave your projector in the same place, you can always recalibrate it later, or you can also like mark the spot you had it on the ground if you're more of someone who's like doesn't want to change things up, and just take it inside and put it back out there later. So once outside of that, you're not really going to be messing around with the physical side of things at all. When you're in the portal, then you're going to have a snapshot produced, and you're going to go to the scene editor, and then it's basically just like a video editor. You'll create the masks for your scene, and then from there on out, you can be doing everything from the comfort of your home, sitting on your couch, dragging and dropping whatever pieces of video, whatever videos or images you want to project onto it. Really, like, from there on out, it's just as simple as sitting on your couch and just making a show.
That's so cool. So it's you put it in your yard, calibrate it, draw a picture, create the mask, and is it just as simple as, hey, here's a clown for Halloween, I'm gonna drag that and put this over here? Is it drag and drop, or how does that work?
Yeah, almost. It's you can upload your own media, right? We do have some public media, and we're working on getting more public media. There's a great Christmas show, actually, that I don't think I have a video of it, but we have this like 3-minute long, 4-minute long Christmas show that you can like use as a great way to just test the system out. But outside of the public media, you can download your own media and then upload it to our portal. Then from the scene editor, you just click on My Media, and then you add the scene, and then you just move it around on the screen wherever you want to put it on your house. So if it's like you want something covering your garage, you just put it over your garage, you drag it around, expand the borders, and then if you're satisfied, you're satisfied. You can rotate it if you want, so on and so forth.
That's so cool. So you've kind of solved one, I don't know if it's a problem, but one complaint a lot of folks have. And I was on a couple of mapping pages on Facebook today about one guy spent all this time and just time and energy drawing the map of his house. And he works with another kind of popular mapping program. And they drew something for him, made him something. He put it in the yard and it didn't line up because he moved his projector. You've kind of solved that problem, because if you move it, you just recalibrate it, right?
Right. And so when you do recalibrate it, you'll get a new snapshot, and you'll keep a log of all of your previous snapshots. So what you can do then is you can go into an existing show and then load in a new shot, take in the new snapshot that you just took. And if you've moved it to the other side of the house or an entirely different part of the house, it's going to be a little bit more complicated. But let's say you moved it like a foot or two. Well, all you're going to need to do then is take the image and then slightly adjust it to fit whatever that small change you made was, right? So, most of our users do just keep it in the same place. But if there's a small difference like that, oh yeah, you can easily change. You just easily edit that in no time.
And you could you move houses, you got a new house. You don't want to spend the time drawing it again, but you hit the calibration button. So when you buy it, you're not locked into one house. You can use it for anything.
Yeah. And so, like I said, you're going to have to recalibrate it to the house and then adjust to the house a little bit. But you can do that within the scene. You don't have to change your scene. You can just go in and then you can drag to the new, all of like the timing of your scene is still going to be there. So like if you've got like a 5.5 minute long scene, you got like a bunch of different pieces, they're all still going to be there. You might have to change like, oh, well, I want this on my garage, but my garage doesn't look the same. So then you just drag it over to your new garage. But yeah.
One thing your Luxedo's unique for a few reasons, but one thing you touched on a minute ago is everything's there for you. Everything comes, which is unique because there's not a lot in the Christmas industry and the holiday decor industry that offer that. Tom Bet George, he's one of the biggest decorators in the world. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he just this week came out with I forget the name of his company, but he has a company that they just now came out with, hey, if you want a pixel show, everything you want in a starter kit. So it's kind of rare. You guys were on the forefront of, hey, here's everything in one spot. So what is the future? Long way to get to my question. What is the future of projection mapping, do you believe, and how does Luxedo fit into that niche?
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Well, I really quickly want to say you thinking like, oh, that's like this whole all-in-one thing. That's kind of a modern concept. It was created, and I'll maybe touch on this later, but I do want to say it was started. The reason why this is our guiding philosophy is a little silly. It's because years ago, when our CEO, my boss, when he conceived of Luxedo, it was because he was really tired of putting up decorations. And his wife was like, she had high expectations. Her family always took the holiday really seriously. And he didn't want to disappoint her. But he didn't like putting up decorations. So his solution, which was very mechanical engineer of him, was design a product that makes it so it's all in one. You put one projector out and it takes care of your decorations. And so that kind of guiding philosophy, that answers why, like, well, why did we start with this whole all-in-one concept? It's actually because of something surprisingly mundane. Now, as far as the future goes, the goal is very much in line with that original philosophy, which is we want this to be as easy as possible for as many people as possible. As you, I'm sure now, like, the more easy something is to use, the more complicated it is on the back end. Like, the more effort goes into making it that way, right?
Yeah.
So even since we started, this has only gotten so much more intuitive and so much easier to use. And that's the goal for us, to keep on adding new features, but at the same time, making it so that it is approachable and as easy to use as possible for the most amount of people. And so focusing for us on the future is really, it's one, focusing on ease of use and making sure that even the least tech savvy people in the world have a good experience.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about it a little bit as far as there are options out there. You can do it yourself. You can draw maps. There are options. Aside from, what makes Luxedo stand out from the other options out there? Because there are other options out there for DIY and everything else. What makes them stand out?
So again, it's really the all-in-one aspect of it because I've obviously become acquainted with what you might consider competitors in the market, and it's a lot of they solve one problem really well in maybe a very complex way. Like there's a software called Mad Mapper that is a pretty, it's a pretty sophisticated software, but it's just that. It's just software and it is dense. There is a lot to it.
Yep.
And I've looked at it, I've messed around with it, and I find it a little unintuitive in the sense that if you don't really have a background in it, it's kind of overwhelming. And then on the hardware side of things, it's very rare. There's no real alternative to having both hardware and software bundled into one. And so to me, that's what the difference is. You get good user interface, you have the calibration technology, and then you also have what is something we're actively working on. One of the big focuses for this year and the next year is trying to use Luxedo as a way to encourage creativity. We're trying to increase our resources for how you can make a better show. We're trying to make it so that, we want to encourage people to make really cool things with Luxedo. So those are kind of like some of the things I imagine for our future.
So to kind of touch on that a little bit. So what I've done in my own journey of projection mapping is I figured out, hey, I needed a high-end lumen. So I got a 4,000 lumen. It wasn't enough because I'm on either side of streetlights. I'm like, I needed more. I've checked out Mad Mapper. I've checked out Adobe's After Effects. You're not wrong. There is such a high learning curve there. It's above me. I spent a year trying to learn it. I'm still not there. So for guys like me, Luxedo would be kind of a saving grace.
Yeah, and I'm actually a little curious about your experience because how complex do you think your shows really needed to be? Like, did you think was the reason why? Let me try to phrase that a little better.
You're good.
Did you find that you needed to go really deep into the software in order to get the things you needed?
Yes. So my journey is I went to Lunabox on her YouTube channel, and I kind of went through her tutorials, and she lost me at Adobe After Effects. I was able to create the 3D image of my house, which I thought was pretty freaking neat. It's neat to see a 3D image of your home on a computer screen. But after that, it lost me, and I've reached out to her, and she was like, yeah, there are tutorials out there, and I'm sure there are. But for me, my inspiration was twofold. One, I took a drill to the head last year climbing a tree, and I'm like, maybe I should come up with something different. But instead of hanging lights from September 15th every year till Black Friday every year, I figured I got a projection, put it in the yard, 20 seconds of installation and done, because I've already done all the work throughout the year. So that was my inspiration. And there's a video on YouTube of a dynamite house with a Ghostbusters theme, and you got electricity climbing up the walls. I'm like, I want my house to look like that house. So those are my two inspirations.
Yeah, I've seen some truly awesome things done with projection mapping. It's really like something that I really personally like about working for this company. I guess it's like what like something probably the thing I'm most proud about is beyond just like the relentless passion that people have is I'm a college age student, right? Like I'm a young guy, and a lot of the jobs I've had before did not feel like they were really anything. They didn't feel special. And a lot of people that are like, college age are also working jobs that they don't really think is doing anything. But every once in a while, I'll stumble on something that someone does with Luxedo, and I'm like, now that is awesome. I'm half French, and I grew up in a town in France or city in France called Lyon, and their biggest festival every year in December is the Festival of Lights. And I always thought it was so lame because honestly, the concept great, the execution terrible. And all I can think about now is like, oh, I'm working for a company where we could just make that experience like so much better. We could do something like that because I see what people do and I'm like, oh, we can make this so much cooler.
Yeah. I was watching the video the other day. So I'm in Kansas, and there's a high school in Kansas that took a projector, put it on the ceiling, aimed it down on the basketball floor. So now when they introduce their players, they turn the basketball court into a giant TV screen, and the image of each player is on the screen and does a bunch of cool stuff. Projection mapping is gonna just skyrocket, in my personal belief, over the next 3 to 5 years. I think we're going to take kind of a turn to projection mapping more than anything else. What are your thoughts on the next 3 to 5 year window?
Well, projection mapping is when Luxedo started, it was purely focused on residential, and it remains our top focus because we think it's really cool to put this in the hands of people who just want to make a cool house or a cool decoration for their house. Like that is our top focus. But what we ended up finding was that some of our residential users had businesses and they started trying to use it for their businesses. And it turns out that people all over the world just want cool, immersive experiences. And the basketball court is a good example. We've actually got a good number of basketball courts in the country running Luxedo systems. I think there's two futures. There's the future where we work as much as possible to make this easy for the customer to use. I've already talked about that. Make it so that the residential user just has a simple solution for their projection mapping needs. Make it so they don't have to take a drill to the head. And then the other future at the same time is making really cool immersive experiences that I think can make an awesome impact on the world. Yeah,
Laura's tuning in. She says that doing 44 video layers is kind of getting old. And she's curious, are you planning on partnering with any programmers to provide ready-to-go shows? If she sends an image of the house to you, can you guys send her back something?
Yeah, so we've got a couple different routes you can go with that. So the first thing is we have a couple of service providers that we recommend to do that exact thing. It's not currently integrated with Luxedo, so to speak, but if you actually go to our portal and you click the big old button that says click here to find I forget exactly what it says, but it basically says contact show talented effects creators or something, and it'll put you directly in contact with companies who do that kind of thing for you. And they, for surprisingly cheap, honestly, they either provide you with assets or they can make an entire show tailor-made to your house. And there's a couple really talented people. You're going to see some of the shows the two shows that I lined up that I sent to you. Those were made by those same companies, and those are accessible for anyone. And we have links to them in our portal. As far as I also mentioned, sorry, we're also actively working on making it. I probably can't talk on it too much. It is still top secret, so to speak. But we are working on things within the app to make the creative process easier and to make it so you have more resources for the creative process.
Is there any thought of in the future, maybe a moonshot, but you've got the Luxedo in your yard, it's doing your show. Maybe I'm sitting on my couch, get my phone out. Hey, I want to change it real quick. Has there been any talk of the future of controlling it with the phone app?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, nice.
As of right now, it's possible, but the interface hasn't been perfected. But I can tell you that is, I think, our number one priority right now. So we're making sure that the phone app is as equipped as possible. We recently pushed out another update where you can manually access the internal projector settings because there's the software and enclosure side of things. Then there's the internal projector, and normally you have a separate remote, and you're still going to be shipping it out with a second remote. But you can now just from your phone access the remote for the internal projector, and that allows you to change the settings from inside your phone. And then you'll be able to play shows very effortlessly from your phone too. That is a huge priority for us.
So talking about lumens real quick, you do have different options and different packages. Can you touch on the different packages for lumens?
Yeah. So we have 3 different residential level units, which is a 3,500 lumen model, a 4,200 lumen model, and then a 6,000 lumen model. On top of that, you also have the option to blend together multiple projectors. A little daunting. So if you have a house and you can fit the house within the limits of one of those projectors, stick to one. But if you have some really ambitious goals, you're also able to blend together multiple projectors to make one show.
So you're sitting there and you're telling me I can get 2 Luxedo systems, and just in the software in your software, I can put in, hey, 2 different systems and they blend together?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way it works.
That's awesome.
So cool. I think it's so cool. because it's like like I said, I'm the customer support guy, and like I'm a little technical. I'm a data science major. Like I know a little bit, but it blows my mind how this stuff works. But essentially, you get like that whole calibration process. All you do is you calibrate two devices and then put them in a group together, and literally, it is 5 buttons in the app. It is 5 buttons that you click to get 2 projectors to do their thing, and it'll pull up a grid. It'll project a grid onto your house. And then in the app, you drag the grid a little bit. And once they're overlapping, you're good. Then you just move on to the next step. And then from there on out, it'll give you a combined snapshot. And then you just use it like the canvas, like you would if you had a single projector. It's really neat.
Wow. Yeah, it's a lot more complicated, apparently, when you're not having Luxedo in your yard, because you have to create 2 different shows and merge them together. It's a whole process, I understand. So very cool.
And a lot of times for like big scale projects, they have to have like this massive complexity of wires that connect everything so they can communicate. It's all done over the internet. They're not connected physically. You can plug them into two different outlets. It's not going to be a problem.
Wow. So since they are Wi-Fi, is there any certain Wi-Fi restrictions or needs that need to be met?
Well, okay. Obviously, if you put your device outside of the range of your Wi-Fi, that can cause some issues. However, there are options for most of the time. We have a long-range Wi-Fi adapter. So most of the time, if you're like 40 feet out from your Wi-Fi router or whatever, which we recommend, most houses, you're probably going to put the projector about 25 or 20 to 30 feet away. Most of the time, your house Wi-Fi won't be a problem. You can check the Wi-Fi strength in the app. If it's above like 30%, you're fine. And most people, that's going to be totally fine. But there's also options. There's wireless Ethernet bridges, which are really cool. You plug one end of the module into your Luxedo, and it's wireless. So when I say you plug the other end into your Ethernet, it's not like you're dragging the cable across. It's a little wireless module that connects on either end. And that basically gives you a really seamless connection that greatly improves the Wi-Fi strength. So there's solutions for it that make it so that Wi-Fi shouldn't really be a problem. Period, I guess.
Fair enough. You want to show the videos now?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to.
Okay, the first one I'm going to show is called Christmas Show Number 1. It is 85 seconds long. Let's take a look at Luxedo in action. Okay, so here you got, man, it looks like that thunderbolts or candy canes hanging down. And see, if I found on the street, I would think this is a pixel light show. That is neat.
We were, it's really funny because we were at one of my friend's houses, and we were messing around with the projector, and we had just run a series of ads that day talking about how the neighbors had stopped us because they had to know what was going on. And literally that same night, we're projecting up onto this guy's house, and a neighbor literally comes up to us and is like, "Now hold on, what are you guys doing here? This is the coolest thing."
So yeah, I mean, you got the talking head on there. That's a $100 prop you got to buy for a pixel light show, and you got the snowman on there talking. Those are expensive props that you're just projecting.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, and we've had I know it can be a pain to set up all the string lights, but you can do something that's pretty much string lights just like that.
So cool. So yeah. Different colors. It looks like you got a strobe going on there, going left to right. It's so neat. See right there when you're sitting in your yard and everything's all done. You're out there. You push play. That's my favorite part of my wife's my favorite part every year. Is we'll go across the street to the neighbor's yard. Neighbor will come out. We'll sit there, have some bourbon in our hand or some scotch or something, and just sit back and just watch all of your hard work come to fruition. That's neat.
Yeah. Yep.
So the second one is called Luxedo Christmas 2. Let's take a quick look at this. Oh, wow. Look at that. So you got the snow coming down. And one thing that when I was watching this the first time, I was so impressed by, it's not 100% dark outside in this video. There's still sun setting in the back.
Yeah, it's like dusk. So this is our 4200 lumen model. I don't remember the exact measurements of this house. I was there when we were filming this. This is like, I think it's like 40 feet wide. So for a 4200 lumen model to look this bright on a house that, by the way, is like normally you're told you're supposed to, in optimal conditions, have like a white house. This house is like dark green. So I was blown away. This is one of those moments I was talking about where I was like there and I just could not believe how awesome this product was, honestly.
Wow. I mean, that's just, I mean, I'm assuming, yeah, you have a drone there filming it. So
Yeah.
that's just showing, and I love that you have a drone in there because it shows you the different angles. So one thing when you have a pixel light show or an AC light show like myself, I always tell folks the advice I have is don't just hang lights to hang them. Go where your audience is going to be at and look at their perspective and see how that's going to affect them. Hey, if I'm in my car, 4 cars down or 2 houses this way, is the show still going to look neat to me? And I love that the drone was shifting angles there because you can see different perspectives.
Yeah, and there's a video up on our Instagram actually that has from that same house where rather than just shifting really we take the drone all the way out, and you see just how bright it is, and it's really cool. It's really, really cool.
So let's talk about the box being outside. It's going to be out there in all different elements, probably all over the world. What's its water rating? Let's talk about how weather resistant it is.
Very weather resistant. We've had people use, like you said, all over the world. We don't have too many residential cases, but all across the states for sure. And there are people. One of our longest lasting creators with Luxedo lives in Utah, and they got absolutely snowed in. He left his device out in the snow for days, and he dug it out, and it just worked. It just worked, no problem. The cases are designed to be weather resistant, not just weather resistant, but essentially completely rainproof and waterproof. We've never really had a single report of like water related damage on our V3 models. And as far as the temperature restrictions, it can get down to 5 degrees Fahrenheit without needing any external source of heat. And it can get up to 90 degrees Fahrenheit without requiring any external cooling.
Now, is that ambient temperature or is that temperature inside the box?
Ambient temperature.
Very cool.
Inside the box, it can get up to a much higher temperature.
Yeah. So does it have an FM transmitter with it? Does it have a built-in fan? Can you talk about the internal?
Yeah. So admittedly, if there's one thing I don't know too well, it is the hardware side of things. But I can say it does come with ventilation. It does have 2 fans inside that are constantly keeping it cool. And as far as the FM transmitter, we have an alternative to it. It's called Luxedo Radio. And the reason behind this philosophy is because in the spirit of making this accessible, in the spirit of trying to take wires out of the equation, Luxedo Radio is a website, and it connects to your Luxedo. Just by default, if you have a show that has audio in it, your Luxedo Radio website is going to be playing. And so all you need to do is go to Luxedo Radio or whichever, like you'll have a specialized link that you can access from your settings. You can also turn it into a QR code within the app and then put the QR code up in like the top left corner of your show or whatever. Okay. And people can come up with their phones, they can scan it, and they can listen to it on their devices. Or what you can also do is if you have speakers, you just connect an external device to Luxedo Radio and then plug it into the speakers.
Gotcha. So if you could, what we would do at our house, because we have it set up like this, is we have the Bluetooth speaker set up outside. We have Marine speakers on a Bluetooth device. And we can just play that from our phone, Bluetooth it out, and that solve the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Very cool. Okay, I'm sold. I want to buy it. What is the turnaround if I order it today? What is the turnaround for me getting the Luxedo delivered to my house?
It is normally 1 to 3 business days. But there's always the option for expedited shipping, which did happen quite a few times at Halloween this year, where people were like, "I need it right now. Send it to me tomorrow." And
okay, so it gets delivered to my house. I've read the instructions. I got it kind of working. I'm going to get my hands on, put it in the yard. I'm going to calibrate it. From the time I put it in my yard the first time to the time I have a presentable, say, 15-minute show, what's that time frame?
So let's use the example first of that Christmas show I was talking about that we have in our public media. Let's say you're trying to get the time from when you first get to the box, you open it up to that point. If you're following along with our instructions, using the resources that are out there, and if you have any difficulties at all contacting customer support, because we are there to help, you can get it out of the box, get it completely calibrated, get the snapshot done. You can get that done in about an hour. Then within the software, registering your device, masking, creating the mask for your show, you can get that done probably within another. I mean, when I did it, because I did this whole process myself. When I created my first shows, the masking process and all that took me less than an hour to get from calibrated to making a scene. It was probably about 30, 45 minutes at most. And then from there to actually make your scene, it really depends on how ambitious you are. But let's say that I'm just trying to play that one show over my whole house. If you've masked everything out, it is just uploading that show. And that would take 3 minutes.
Wow. So you're saying if I want to take a week off of work, my Luxedo's getting here on Monday, I'm taking the week off, see you later, bye. Within that 1 week, I could have everything done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Very cool.
And again, it depends on the ambitions of your show. If you're somebody who's going to want to have every single detail, it's like using any video editor. But at the same time, if you're using the resources that are there for you, if you're finding videos that you want to use that you just can upload, or if you're finding stuff that we have already ready-made for you, or if you're outsourcing the work, just sending your snapshot off to an effects producer, a week is a very, very reasonable time frame.
Nice. So the folks that, hey, last minute, I need a Halloween, let's go. So they probably had to show up and running easily, right?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk for a second about not the elephant in the room, but the elephant that steals from your front yard. So theft protection is something unique to you guys that I don't know anybody else that offers it. Can you talk about theft protection?
So I am basically the guy who wrote the book on theft protection. No, not quite. I wrote the video that is currently up on our Instagram right now that tells you everything you need to know about theft protection. Because whenever we've like taken feedback from the public, the number one thing, the single thing we hear the most is someone's going to steal it. Someone's going to steal it from your yard. And I get the instinct. Again, Luxedo's been around for 7 years. Not a single device has ever been reported as stolen. So that's the first thing.
Wow.
And there's going to be a couple of points here because we've had to think this through because people are very concerned. So that's the first thing. Never have had a device reported as stolen. The second thing is we offer lifetime protection. If you report your device as stolen and have a police report for it, we will give you a replacement. We'll ship you out a replacement. And we'll come back to that later because we have a deal going on right now that actually includes the theft protection included. So we'll talk about that in a moment. Yeah. But then outside of just the stuff, our solutions, you've got things like a motion sensor. You can take like a chain or a wire lock like you might use for a bicycle and attach it to a permanent fixture in your yard. If you wrap it through the leg of your projector, these are solid metal enclosures. You're not going to be able to just yank it off. You'd probably have an easier time ripping through the metal wire than you would have through the enclosure. And so you do that. And if you don't even have a permanent enclosure, you can take like a dog tie-out stake, secure that in your yard, and then use that same like wire or chain lock and then secure it. So if you combine those things, $20 motion sensor off Amazon, $7 tie-out stake from Lowe's, $10 bicycle lock. You've got a lot of options. And again, no one's ever reported a device as stolen before.
That surprises me. I figured theft protection because you're right. Everybody talks about it. There are so many YouTube videos dedicated to that. Like, hey, use earth anchors here, or I take mine in and out every night. So I kind of goes hand in hand with the guy or the gal who drew their house. And it has to be that precise spot each and every time. Can't be a fraction of an inch off. But then they take it in every night because they're worried about it getting stolen. The next day, they're fighting for 2 hours to try to get it back in the same.
Yeah, and that's another part of it. It's like, obviously, you can just recalibrate. But I help people. I'm a customer support agent. So I troubleshoot people's devices whenever they have problems. And I can see snapshots. And what I typically see is our users will take one snapshot, Halloween 2023. And then their next snapshot will be Halloween 2024. They don't recalibrate. They just leave their device out. Or if they don't, I mean, I guess they mark it down perfectly. But I'm assuming they leave their device out. And that's why we designed it with weather resistance in mind. That's why we've got like the theft protection and the theft protection measures. That's why those are a big deal to us, because in our minds, you should just be able to have your device out. And to that point, I don't know if now's the time to bring it up, but there is that special discount.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Okay. So for listeners of this, we're currently running a code Crestline 500, which is a $500 discount off at purchase. If you go to our shop, you put in the code Crestline 500 to get $500 off of any of our products and theft protection. And so what that means is that you don't have to pay the price for getting a lifetime guarantee from theft. No. It is just included with your device. If theft is even like a fraction of a worry in your brain, don't worry, it is included. It means that if your device is stolen and you follow along with the policy we have, you're going to get a replacement shipped out to you.
That's awesome. So it's $500 off and the theft protection, which usually is a fee, but this, boom, let's go.
Yeah.
So when I think of Luxedo, this side, I've never had my hands on one, but when I think of Luxedo, I think this is going to be a generational product. My kids are going to have this. It's going to be around for a long time. I don't have to worry about it getting stolen. I can leave it out there. And I get a discount code. So bravo for the discount code. Heck yeah, let's go. I'm thinking about, as a generational product, how often do updates come out? Or do they?
So there's two different kinds of updates. Well, actually, there's a whole bunch of different kinds of updates. But broadly speaking, there's two different kinds of updates. A hardware update and a software update. And the hardware updates, tough to say. We are sticking with the V3. The V3 is a really well-designed model, and it's our centerpiece right now, and we're going to keep it. But we are updating the software for all devices constantly. The software updates, they happen all the time, and it's designed to be, we don't want it to be like this massive change where your device suddenly feels like it's like a league behind because you're not getting the software updates that new devices are getting. You're not getting the software functionality. So if you have a V2 or V3 device, they're going to be running essentially the exact same technology. And even our V1 devices, which we stopped producing 2 years ago, they're still going to be getting the exact same updates with the same functionality. So all these new features are going to be kept updated for everybody. And especially moving forward, no matter what happens, I'm sure at some point the V4 will be in the pipeline. No matter what happens, if you get a V3, your V3 is going to be supported. And that's going to be the goal.
Very cool. One thing if I take my device, like, hey, I'm moving, maybe I'm downgrading to an apartment because whatever reason. Is this something, if I sell it to somebody else, is it still supported? Do warranties transfer and all that kind of good stuff?
As far as like warranties go, we do.
I don't even know if there's a warranty. I was just using that as a word. I don't know.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking like the anti-theft protection, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever had a case of that, so I'd have to actually consult with the people who make the policies. But as far as like, do we support it? Yes, we do. This happens all the time.
Cool.
People will like sell their device on eBay. Someone will send a frantic email like, "I bought this on eBay, and I don't even know if this is going to work." And I'm like, "Send me the device ID. I'll get you the password for it." You go to portal.luxedo.com. It's the same as it is for anybody else. That's as simple as it is. So yeah, we support it.
Very cool. Are there any? What are the future plans for Luxedo? Do they have any thoughts of moving in any type of other displays or any other techs?
Well, I can't really tell you exactly how it's going to look. Again, I'm not the most technical guy, but what I will say is that AI is very interesting, and there's a lot of potential applications, and just keep an eye on that, because if we're aiming to push the customer experience to be as easy and as intuitive as possible, yeah, there's some room to grow there. So that's one thing.
If you had a magic wand, you're like, you know what, I want this to exist. Maybe you've seen it in a sci-fi movie somewhere. If there's one type of image you would like to have, that's not a great way to ask that. Trying to think, if you had a moonshot magic wish, what would you see for Luxedo in the next 5 to 10 years? Is it bigger? It's like, hey, I want every major league stadium to have a Luxedo, or what's your moonshot?
Well, I've got two things. One thing is, I think it would be really cool if I was taking a walk in my neighborhood or something, and because I was on a walk the other day and I saw some Halloween decorations, and I think it'd be really cool if I was like, "Hey, I helped make that projector. That's
Yeah.
so cool." That's one thing I would love to see is having it be something that's recognizable and just having it be something that I walk around. And I'm like, look, that's me. I helped with that. That's one thing.
Yep.
As far as like the other thing, going back to being French, they are crazy for projection mapping over there. They really are. And what I would love is for our, for example, like to see like these massive cathedrals having Luxedo shows run on them. That would be awesome for me. So those are the two features I think I'd be so excited for.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. We didn't even talk about it, but Europe is huge into projection mapping. We're still, as Americans, we are still full flood. Let's go pixels. Let's go LED lights. But Europe's 10 years ahead of us on projection mapping.
Easily. Oh yeah. It's really interesting. But you know what I think part of it is, America it's got a lot of residential like houses that. Like, I think more people in America live in houses than in Europe do, because a lot of people are living in densely packed cities. And it's not easy to take like a big bank building, which is really the only thing that you would have like decorations of scale. It's not easy to go up there and hang string lights on everything or get like a really elaborate light show. So I think it makes sense. They're just like, let's just use projectors instead. So they've been on it for years. But on the other hand, on the residential end, not really a thing. It's really not that big of a thing. Like in America, on the residential end, they're like, anything that is Christmas and Halloween, I want to see it. I want to try it out. It's so fun. I think it's so interesting.
And speaking of Europeans, we got Jeff Whiskey tuning in. He's an Englishman. So speaking of, I love that. Yeah, Europe so far, and I'll read the chat boards and I'll see. When I go to conventions, I always take a projection mapping class because I want to know what the new tech is. Everybody's like, hey, and Europe's doing this, France is doing this, England's doing this. Germany's huge in it. And then America's just we're just now getting to the residential side of it. We're just now seeing the possibilities of it.
Yeah, it's really, honestly, it's really interesting to see. But you know what? It's definitely becoming big here.
Oh yes. Yes. And this is my go-to. This is what I really want to get into. We have, it's getting bigger on the Christmas side of it. I think it is convenient. I think at some point when this becomes, in my own personal opinion, I think this one becomes more common to see. I don't see why the elderly population isn't just loving this, because there's no hanging anything. There's no getting on the roof. It's putting in the yard and done. Like, hey, grandkids, I did decorate this year. Boom.
So we have this guy, and this is I love these stories because I know a lot of our customers by name because I'm the customer support guy. Right. Mm-hmm. There's this guy who I absolutely think makes just these really awesome shows, Peter Longren. He's on YouTube. You can check him out. He has used this software for just about everything. But he and when I say everything, I mean like you obviously got the Christmas, but he's used it for 4th of July. One of my favorite applications I've ever seen is turning your entire house into a show of support for your favorite sports team. He's from Philadelphia, I think, and he's got all these like Phillies, he's got like all the Phillies like paraphernalia up on his house. I love it. And like he is this guy who's not like some young tech entrepreneur. No, he's just a guy. He's just a man who owns a house who happens to like the idea, and he's able to use the software better than just about everybody I've ever met. I probably better than I could even. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah, we do. We're from Kansas, so we're Kansas City Chiefs fans. We created a thing probably about whenever they won their first recent Super Bowl, and we had we did a whole light show. We made our own song to it, and on the YouTube side, we have a holographic projection of Patrick Mahomes. But when people came to see the physical Christmas show, they're like, all the kids are like, "Hey, where's Patrick Mahomes?" I'm like, "I don't have an actual hologram. That's just on the YouTube side of it." So doing things neat via projection and stuff is always going to be fun. And then you gotta support your local sports team too. I mean, whoever you choose.
Yeah, I'm a college student, and I'm from Knoxville. Knoxville goes crazy for the Vols. That's UT. That's my school. and I'm currently making a show for the Balls at
Oh, nice.
at one of my friends' houses. So I'm gonna get into it too. You know, I gotta show my support. Turn the whole house orange. You know.
Oh yeah. I was pretty proud. The song that my wife actually created for the Chiefs show actually got picked up on for a national commercial. Like, hey, we love this song. Can we use it? I'm like, yeah, you can use it. That's pretty neat.
Really?
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
That's so cool.
We do. Yeah, I like working with national media. It's fun. So appreciate the not only the $500 discount, but the free theft protection code. Crestline 500. I'll put that in the video's description below. Is there anything I didn't ask you today that we need to touch on?
No, I feel like we were pretty in depth.
Nice.
I'm not too sure. No, I feel like we covered a lot.
Quick question: if I want a 10,000 lumen, can I get a hold of somebody like Luxedo and say, "Hey, I got a black house. I don't know, got a black house, and I need a bigger lumen projector." Is that something you guys can put a package together for somebody?
Oh yeah,
Nice,
definitely.
Nice.
Now that's of course going to be like a special request, but if you are really serious about this and you're like, I want to make something and I have very specific needs, I know several people that would be more than happy to give you exactly what it is you're looking for.
Very cool. So yeah, thanks so much for coming on the show today. I think we kind of went through the gamut of it. Love everything Luxedo's doing. Feel free to come back anytime if you ever have a new product, new update you want to talk about. Hang out for just 1 second. We're gonna end it here with the folks. I'll get to you in 1 second. So I'll pitch you in the green room right quick. Hey folks, thanks so much for tuning in. If you're watching this back later, don't forget that coupon code's down there. We'll advertise that on all of our social medias. If you like seeing Daniel today, let the man know down in the comments that he was a welcome guest here today. Don't forget, we have some exciting stuff coming up with Christmas, with a great Christmas light fight. No live next Monday. That's right. My son, I'm dropping him off at basic training this coming Monday. So he'll be joining the Space Force as their new guardian, because that's what you call Space Force, folks. So that's coming up next Monday. No live next Monday, but we will do it live later in the week. That's about it for me today, guys. I'm Charlie, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget about that coupon code. Bye, guys.